are on. This is Polemics. The very first edition of Polemics is about to start. Ready, guys?
I think we're live.
All right,
It's a
so
private video, don't worry. It's a private video, don't worry, no one can see us.
all right. Hello and welcome to the very first edition of Polemics. Polemics is that show where I hang out with two of my friends every week, and we will be talking issues in the news, presenting an intellectual take to issues in the news. My name is Abigail, and every week I'll be having Tosin and Ikenna join me on the show. The plan is that we will be having different presenters every week, so I am taking the first shot at this. Maybe because ladies first after gentlemen, but maybe just because ladies first. So I'm taking the first shot, and Ikenna is here, Tosin is here. Say hi, guys.
Hello everyone.
Hi everyone.
All right, so this first edition, we are going to be talking about what polemics means to us. And so I am going to start off with Ikenna telling us what does polemics mean to you?
I see polemics as a place where I come with my friends and we talk about the issues behind the news and the gist, especially on social media. So because one thing about social media is that there are a lot of topics that we can say trend, and you see a lot of takes, a lot of comments, a lot of takes about what is trending, about the issue, and people giving explanations and giving their own points of view. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to engage because it will require long threads or being able to succinctly put everything you're trying to say into 280 character tweets. And so this offers, for me, this is going to be a place where we can have a long form analysis of those issues. So that's what I hope polemics is going to be. And also, there will also be bants.
Because we love banter, right?
There has to be bants. I mean,
okay, all right then. Tosi is the banana today. Hopefully, in the next edition, we'll be able to see Tosi's face or head or something. But today, he's just Mr. Banana. Tosi, what does polemics mean to you?
I think polemics is the culmination of a long project, right? So this is an opportunity for myself and yourself and Ikenna to realize the ambition of tackling some really tough topics and expressing ourselves in a longer format, in a more intellectual format. I'm off Twitter, so like this is my escape from the silliness that is Nigerian social media. Hopefully,
you
I
go
can
to peep at
enjoy.
times.
Yeah, sometimes I go to peep. Yeah, well, I never scroll beyond the 10th tweet. I peep sometimes. I see something interesting. I like. But my Twitter days are over. Anyways, this is a nice.
You saying your
Yeah, my
Twitter
Twitter.
days are over?
Yep, they're over. I don't see myself getting into a Twitter argument with anybody on any topic.
Hmm.
That's sad.
Okay, so instead of arguing on Twitter, you're just going to come here and argue with Ikenna and I?
Yes, I believe I can win.
Oh,
That's because we don't have threads.
Nobody, you can't. You guys can't drag me. Where are you dragging a banana to?
Exactly.
we probably will sleep if we drag a banana. All right, so today we're going to go straight on. We are going to be talking about an issue that was in the news this past week, but we are going to spin it and do our own take to it. And the topic that we'll be looking at today is alternate lifestyle in Nigeria. Do the police have a role to play? Um, just a little backgrounder to this topic. We know that there are a number of people in Nigeria today who are embracing alternate lifestyles. When I say alternate lifestyle, I mean, and at the risk of not sounding politically correct, because I may not at this point know exactly the politically correct way to refer to some of these people. So I'm just going to say broadly what we
Trying not to get
cover.
us demonetized.
Yeah, I'm just going to say broadly what we mean when we say alternate lifestyle. Tosin is getting the mute first today because it's making a lot of noise. I don't know what he's searching for in his boxes or something. Anyway, so when we say alternate lifestyle, we're talking about people who embrace lifestyles such as homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, cross dressing, and the whole works. And we know that there are real people who embrace these lifestyles, and that is what they choose. But the question we're asking is, should they be policed? Of course, we know that there is an anti-gay marriage law, and I would want us to actually spend some time talking about the anti-gay marriage law, because a lot of people are mistaken the anti-gay marriage law to be an anti-gay law. So what role, if any, does the police have to play in ensuring that whatever it is, we know of what happened to Bobrisky. He was going to have his birthday party, and the definition of police actually storming. Police stormed the place and took over. So is that right? Ikenna, your take. What do you think of what happened to Bobrisky?
Well, I would say, because going to the rationale the police force, the official channels of the police force gave for carrying out the raid, basically they were talking about things about his lifestyle leading being something that is detrimental to the to whatever is good in the country, and we do not. To quote the police, to quote the statement, it says something like, we will not allow him to destroy the country. Now there are arguments that these alternate lifestyles, these alternate lifestyles, um, gender orientation choices, sexual orientation choices. Now, we can talk about how they can be detrimental to the moral climate and to the moral health of the country. We can talk about that. We can talk about that. But the question here is that, is it for the Nigerian police force? Is it for the authority to control or to police morality? Or is it possible? Is it feasible without infringing on other fundamental things like personal freedoms? And do we give the police that kind of power? When the anti-gay marriage bill came out, one of the things that I had a problem with was the clause where it said it was going to police what it called exhibitions, amorous exhibitions. I can't remember how it was put. What was it called? I think it was amorous, something like, basically being interpreted that, look, if we see
It had
gay
to
people
do
doing
with public displays of affection between
affection,
gay.
yeah, public displays of affection. So I had a problem with that, because how do you police that without abuse? Because if you had a gay marriage law, if you had an anti-gay marriage law, all a gay marriage law basically recognize same-sex marriage, and that's all. So any same-sex marriage that was carried out maybe outside the country or even within the country we do not recognize it. And that for me is enough. If the country can say, okay, we define marriage as between a man and a woman, okay, fine. You have defined it, and that's it. We do not recognize, the state doesn't recognize any other kind of union. Fine. But when you now go to the extent of, okay, we're going to police what typically would occur in the private realm, it becomes difficult because number one, you cannot police what occurs in the private realm. And number two, the only way you can police it is by infringing on certain rights, which is what happened to Bobrisky, because he didn't commit a crime. I mean, having a birthday party is a crime. Organizing a birthday party isn't a crime. So on what basis is the police going there to raid the place? There is no basis. Except the police basically played into the fact that, okay, there is a certain outrage against the lifestyle choice of Bobrisky and his cross-dressing and all of that, and then they are playing on that, basically virtue signaling, which is what they did on Saturday, just to basically virtue signal and saying that, look, we are not tolerating this thing. Okay.
Yep. Thank you for that take. I like the way you did, would I say, a historical take on the issue. Tosin, what's your take on this? Do the police have a right to actually, do they have a right to police people with alternate lifestyles?
I really don't think they do. There's someone sneezing in the background. I don't think the police has the right to police what happens in the private realm. From a purely legal, constitutional standpoint, Bobrisky, as a Nigerian citizen, has some rights. He has the right to privacy, and he also has the right to express himself freely. So you could always argue that Bobrisky's choice in dressing, makeup, and what he says is just his expression, freedom of expression. And having a birthday party in a private compound, police invading it, shutting down a birthday party would just be an invasion of his privacy. So you can always look at it from that point of view. And the argument is, the people who are policing Bobrisky's behavior are policing his behavior because they do not like his behavior. What is there to say that another behavior which you exhibit or I exhibit in my privacy of my home will not be frowned upon, and the police will not be used to shut down my privacy? So, as much as I find Bobrisky's behavior, I find it very funny, to be honest. I find it so funny I don't think it's disgusting. I just think it's funny. As much as I can understand people not liking what he does, it's not the role of the police to do so, because the police is the manifestation of the force of government, and I don't think it's government's role to police the private behavior of people. I don't think it is. No one got harmed. You can't even say anyone is being harmed by Bobrisky's behavior. When people are being entertained, but no one is being harmed. So I don't think it's the role of the police to be this thing. The Nigerian police is not the Hisbah, apparently.
Exactly. I was going to talk about Hisbah.
Yeah, because the next question I was going to ask is that there are societies where the police actually check morality. You remember that a couple of, during a certain celebration here in Nigeria, certain lifestyles, I remember I even threaded on Twitter then, where people were saying, oh, we're going through so and so in our religion now, so you guys should be a little more sensitive. So, and I mean, you talked about a particular type of police in a part of the world.
I think you should just say it with your chest.
What am I saying with my chest? I am saying it the way
name the festival
am
and
saying
name the
it.
religion.
I am saying it the way I want to say it. If you want to say it, Tosin, you can go ahead. But this is the way I want to say it, and this is what I am saying. That is it. Are we being? I am thinking of the right words to use at this point. Is it not a kind of inequality? Yes. If certain people are allowed to police morality while others are not allowed that same privilege. I mean, if certain people can police the morals of others and other people are not allowed to, is that not inequality in a way? Reaction, Ikenna.
It depends, because the thing about moral action is, now there is usually a difference between something being bad and something being a crime. Now, things are bad because many reasons. When you're talking about whether something is good or bad, you're in the realm of morality. But when you're now talking about whether something is a crime, you're talking about in the realm of considered law, considered authority, legality. And now there can be difficult areas as to where do we go from this is private, where do we go from this is bad, but this is also, because usually when something is a crime is usually when there's some public harm that can be done.
Okay.
When there's a public harm that can be done. So there are certain situations where, okay, will there be a public harm? You can argue, for example, there is the argument about should censorship, for example. Let's take censorship, which is similar to what is happening, because the police is basically trying to censor the behavior, censor certain kinds of behavior. In Bobrisky's case, for example, censor his behavior. So let's take censorship, for example. Should the police, should Nigeria be able to censor certain kinds of content? You can say free speech and all of that, but there are certain places where, for example, take pornography, for example. Is it right to censor pornography? Is it not something?
I mean, I was going to, I'm sorry for cutting in, but you remember that there was this issue with the ladies dancing at the back of a car.
Yes,
I think it was some something.
What's his name?
And it also caused an uproar. Some artists, some Nigerian artists.
It also caused an uproar, yes.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, he did. Yes. And
as an aside, if we're going to be doing this podcast, we have to also be very current.
No, that I know the person I'm talking about, but I can't remember his name at the moment.
Yes, Techno. But I remember the situation
Techno.
where he had
Techno. Thank you. It was Techno.
Where he had
it was Techno.
A glass show glass.
Exactly. It was also a case of morality. We are living in a society where the Nigerian society is a little sensitive, if I am to say a little, or we are very sensitive to issues that has to do with morals. I know that a lot of people would go, the country is corrupt, there are so many problems we are facing, why are we always discussing morality? But personally, I am of the opinion that we can be talking and chewing, or we can write, and we can do two things at the same time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the question is it not being partial? Is it not I don't know whether the word I want to use is partial, but it doesn't seem right if you're going to apply morals in certain circumstances and then in others you don't. Shouldn't there be like a rule, a principle that this is the principle we are following and we'll follow it in every circumstance? Tosin.
Who gets to decide what the principles are? One. And also, what happens when two sets of moralities conflict with each other? Say, for instance, I really like pork, and I'm not partial to a glass of wine every now and then. in a certain part of the country, that will be a crime. And it's a crime for it's a crime for religious purposes, for religious sake. Why should they decide what my morality is? Especially because I'm consuming it for my own body.
I'm trying to hear you, Tosin. It seems like your network is a little, I don't know whether the word is wonky, but
Ikenna, could you hear me?
You were like
Yes,
sounding like
I'm hearing you
Matrix.
well. I'm hearing Tosin well.
It's you.
Okay.
So the issue is what happens when two sets of morality clash? What do you do?
Perfect.
What do you do then?
Okay.
Personally, the way I tend to look at it is it can become really difficult. There are clear cases, there are borderline cases, but I think usually with considered authority and the laws governing a particular area, what we are basically interested in is what you can call the common good, or you could call the common good. So now you're always going to balance the common good, that is the good of basically everybody, with individual freedoms, individual rights. So you have questions like, can you infringe on an individual right to protect the common good for the sake of the common good, which is what this Bobrisky's case is. The police is coming from the point of view that we are protecting the common good. We're protecting the common good. You heard that argument. You also heard that argument with the show glass, the techno and the show glass strippers, because people were like, look, he can do whatever he wanted to do with those girls.
So I think the same thing that was happening with Tosin's line is happening to your line now, Ikenna. You were talking about common good, and the question I was going to ask is, does Bobrisky pose any risk at all to any member of society? Is there any action that
I see what you did there.
poses the risk? Okay, Bobrisky posing a risk. Tosin, please go ahead and tell me. Do you think that Bobrisky poses?
I actually missed it.
No, absolutely.
I wasn't even on my game. I missed it.
The truth is that I didn't. Whatever it was that Tosin thought, I didn't do it
Bob
on
posing
purpose.
a risk.
It just happened.
One.
Yeah,
anyway,
does he pose a risk to society?
No, absolutely not. And Bobrisky has been Bobriskying for about 3 years now, and so far he has hurt nobody, which is more than I can say for the Nigerian police force. I mean,
true.
I mean, Bobrisky is better behaved. He's better for the common good than the Nigerian police at this rate. So, no, I think poses no risk.
Please do not cross the national red line.
Sorry.
I think
cross the national red line now.
I think where we have to look at this is now the kind of the question should not even be whether Bobrisky is a risk, whether Bob is the risk, but whether the police is the one to handle the risk. Because the police is like like a blunt hammer or like a hammer. And a hammer is used for certain things. Now, the risk Bobrisky poses is not the kind of risk that you solve with the police, with the hammer of the police. That's not the kind of risk. That's not how you solve it. Because the effect Bobrisky is having is a cultural effect. It's a cultural effect. Oh, Abigail is gone.
No, let's go.
Yeah, it's a cultural effect. And cultural effects, you cannot police culture. Because culture in a way has its own set of wheels that you cannot really use the police without repressing. And that's one thing that totalitarian governments try to do, to change culture by force.
Yeah.
But what basically just happens is that culture goes underground, and the people who are attracted to it will follow it where it is. They will follow that they'll follow whatever that culture, no matter how depraved it is, they will follow it underground, and it can breed all sorts of things. So it's not for the police to police culture.
Yeah,
if we're going to change culture, we have to change culture in a different way. It's a harder way, it's a long-term thing, because we have to make it, because the point is that what Bobrisky does is appreciated, and that's why he's making money from it, and that is why he's popular, and that's why he can organize the kind of birthday party that he's organizing. So the cat that the police is trying to keep out of the bag is already out and running and giving birth to many kittens up and down, and the whole place is infested with cats. So the police cannot do anything at this point now.
I think there's a bit of a generational gap, a generational thing about it also. So the topic came up at work, and you could see that the older folks were horrified by Bobrisky, while the guys who were a bit younger were like, nah, it's just normal, and he's just having fun. I mean, he serves no purpose. Bobrisky is the cultural icon. I mean, he's a funny person. He's a comedian, as far as I'm concerned. He's not an activist. He doesn't claim to be an activist. If you think about it, he's a Snapchat comedian who cross dresses and sells bleaching cream, and people like him. I mean, I'm ashamed to say it, but I did follow Bobrisky during my Snapchat time. I was on Snapchat for a grand total of 3 months.
Did you pay? Did you pay?
Oh.
Tell the truth. Did you pay? Did you subscribe to his premium Snapchat?
Did he have his premium Snapchat?
Yeah, he has premium Snapchat.
He did. Well, what does he do?
Well, I don't know what he does in the premium Snapchat, but I hear he was collecting a lot of money and people were paying.
Right. So he's selling the product.
Yep.
I mean, he's literally selling the product. And you can see Abby really wants to talk, but I mean,
she's like, you could see the rage
on her face, like these two boys. These two boys.
The 2 boys are too liberal.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a generational gap. I think
my feelings concerning this is,
I think Abigail's internet is the issue here.
She wants to rip us a new one. You can see the
vex. You can see the vex. Like she's about to like.
Abby, switch off your webcam. It'll be better. You'll hear your voice. Today isn't your day. So I think it's more of a cultural phenomenon if you think about it. It's not. So it's in the grand scheme of things, Bobrisky isn't big.
Yeah.
Bobrisky's birthday party only became a national event because the police intervened.
Yeah.
So
because I never even knew. I did not know about it. I would never have known about it. I would never have even bothered until the police went there and made him a hero.
Yeah, Streisand effect.
And it's really funny. It's really funny, you know, they're talking about the whole thing that he's not an activist. That he's not an activist thing.
He's not.
Okay.
Abigail, I think you should put off your video. So you know the thing with the typical, the thing about intersectionality. So basically, because of intersectionality, you had a lot of feminist Twitter in support of Bobrisky, in the sense that he's being oppressed because he is trans.
Okay.
Is he trans now?
Well, that's the thing. So that's the question. Is he actually even trans? And you could see a lot of them, you could see a lot of these people making those comments with the caveat that, yes, we understand that the guy I saw a tweet where somebody said, yes, he's being oppressed and all that, but if you remove all of that, deep down, Bobrisky is a Nigerian man because he talks like a Nigerian man that has the mentality of a Nigerian man. I found that really funny.
Okay, that's kind of weird. That's weird.
Because Bobrisky has really said weird stuff, like non-woke stuff.
I know Bobrisky has come out against homosexuality, strangely enough.
Yes, he has.
I mean, he has actually come out against homosexuality, that he's not gay. And at that point in time, everyone was confused. Anyways, Yep. Then he's come out to say he's not the boy. He's not a bro. He's a beautiful baby girl.
Yep.
I actually think Bobrisky is
maybe he's just someone who stresses and wants to be called a she, but he's not totally a she. So he just wants to be called a she for the gram or for the camera, but behind the camera it's not really a she. Is that confusing?
He's basically leaving a persona to profit off it. He's profiting off it. That's it.
The only person that will know the secret of Bobrisky is Jacob and Bay.
Okay.
Don't ask me. Jacob is the gate man. I don't know if Jacob is still under Bobrisky's employment. And then there's Bay, who is the mystery money man.
Okay. So
I think we can. I guess we can use the phrase "waiting Jacob no go see forget."
Not Musa this time. I am going to ask Ikenna personally a question because Bobrisky is an old boy. I don't know whether to call him an old boy now or an old.
Let's go with alumni. Let's go with gender neutral alumni.
Okay. But King's College is not supposed to be gender neutral. King's College is for boys. So yes. Would you invite Bobrisky to an old boys meeting? Would it be consistent to do that?
Well, on the pragmatic level, if we needed to raise money, which is what most old boys meetings are, to raise money for the school, well, it'd be good to invite him because he would give you the publicity that you need to be able to raise money.
You keep calling him a he. He's not a he. He's a she.
Bobrisky would give you the publicity that will allow you to raise money. Since I don't know the pronoun to use, I will just use the name, his name. As difficult as that is, I will just use Bobrisky's name, as difficult as that is. So yes,
I have an unpopular opinion. You want to hear it?
Go on.
Bobrisky would have been a regular guy if he didn't go to King's College. Changed my mind.
You would have been a regular guy if you did not go to King's College. Change your mind.
Yeah, King's College turned him to Bobrisky. King's College turned Idris to Bobrisky.
Okay, I am not going down that. Ikenna, are you a girl?
Yes.
It is not every.
Ikenna, are you a girl?
Well, the last time.
I know there's this running joke about pink underwear, which I don't think we should bring up here. But what do you say to what Tosin just said?
Does is it a King's College thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to say that King's College, he wouldn't have adopted this lifestyle if he didn't go to King's College. King's College influenced him.
Well, I think the problem is the problem with your argument is you're arguing based on limited sampling. I think there's some argumentum ad limited sampurum or something like, I don't know what it's called, but I mean,
I think he has no sample at all. He has no sample size.
I mean, you have basically. I can give
I'm willing to bet that he was a boarding student. No, you cannot come back.
I think you just sent Ikenna off stream, which is not a very nice thing to do.
No, he was very nice.
I know he'll be back. I know he'll be back, but I think that's a very risky comment to make. There are so many King's College old boys who are not for the Bobrisky alternate lifestyle. And I do not think it is fair for you to make such a blanket statement that King's College probably turned him.
I did not say, all I said was that if he did not go to King's College, Bobrisky probably would have turned out differently.
Apparently,
all I said.
I hear that there are a number of new cross dressers who are following Bobrisky's example. It was
and
one
they
of
all
the
from
things
King's College
it
too.
was also, so we can check confirmation, like empirical confirmation can be to check what secondary school they went to. And then we can be able to make a conclusion as to whether what Tosin is saying is actually true or false.
No, but what to King's College alumni? I mean, like the purpose of that school was to produce the next generation of leaders in the country.
And we did.
And please, Bobrisky.
That's
another
one
person. Yes. Who else?
In the quest to produce leaders, I mean, you get the odd risk.
And then
there's a risk
you.
of getting the odd Bob.
I mean,
And
I
then
don't
there's
really
you.
think that Bobrisky is odd in any way. I think he's a very intelligent person. If he could have built whatever it is he's building out of being a cross-dresser, I mean, he sets up a Snapchat premium channel. People are subscribing to it. He's making money and people are following him. Then he's probably a smart person in a way, don't you think?
Very entrepreneurial. I mean, he has
He
got a
actually
bit
is.
reaching cream.
I mean, it could be like you argue that Kim Kardashian is not smart. She's making money out with what she has, and I think Bobrisky is in the fashion of Kim Kardashian. Maybe not as, I mean, he's not as big as Kim Kardashian, but it's basically the same principle that both of them are following. So if you are of the school of thought that Kim Kardashian is smart, then Bobrisky is also smart. I don't think it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unsmart.
Yeah,
I think basically. Okay, go on, Tosin.
I was going to say on that note, I think we should change topic.
Yeah, Bobrisky is not going to go away.
Bobrisky is a smart person, and he will recover from this situation. I mean, he's going to recover and he's going to bounce back, and he's going to have a big party.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. So, I mean, we have talked about, we've been talking about alternate lifestyle, and we have asked if the police actually are supposed to be policing people and their lifestyles. And Tosin, yes or no? Policing. That sounds like a mouthful. Police policing alternate lifestyle, yes or no?
Hell no. Seriously, no.
Okay, that's a very emphatic one. Ikenna, yes or no?
No. Not emphatic.
Your no is a little low. Not as emphatic as Tosin.
Not as emphatic. No.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take the two no's, or take the two no's as one no and a half no, and then we're going to move on away from.
Abigail, I think one way you can do this is, I think I learned this from one podcast I listened to, where at the end of the topic they say, okay, exit question, and then it says on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being yes, 0 being no, alternate lifestyle, so this on the scale, so that we know we can gauge.
Okay, great. So let's I mean, we are still here, we can do that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Tosin, alternate lifestyle should be policed.
Negative.
What does that mean? Is that like 10?
Like 0, like 0,
like minus
zero, below 0, like.
Okay, so Tosin is absolutely all for alternate lifestyle, should not be policed. And that's like 10 on the scale of 10. It's 10. Yeah. So Ikenna, on the scale of 10?
I would say 2.
2.
I would say 2.
Do you mean 8?
No, I mean,
I'm going to say 10 being
is yes. 10 is a yes.
Agree.
That police
No. Yes.
10 is like
10
yes,
would be completely agree that the police should police alternate lifestyle, where 1 is I strongly do not agree. So where are you exactly?
I am at 2
You are too.
because
That's the Catholic. That's the Catholic talking.
when I say, because the thing is, when we say police, we are also talking about, should there be laws? Because
Yes.
the police basically
Enforce
enforces,
the law.
execute the law. So should we have laws on that target lifestyle? And I would say 2, because there would be some cases where a number of things can be brought up under lifestyle.
All right, so it's now left for you to decide. You've heard both sides of the issue. Tosin is emphatic, saying that the police should not in any way police lifestyles, while Ikenna is a bit to the left, more to the right.
Closer to Tosin. I'm closer to Tosin.
You are
Like
closer to Tosin,
Tosin
but
than to
not
Ken.
absolutely like Tosin. Saying, yeah, there are certain instances where policing is acceptable, but not in all circumstances, and definitely not in the case of Bobrisky in this
Yep.
last episode.
Yep.
All right, so that's how we're going to put a lead on the topic at that point, and we are going to be talking about what we have been reading. This is my favorite part of the show. So let's start with Tosin. I hope Tosin has not been reading a very boring book. Tosin, what have you been reading or listening to in the past week?
So, I'm reading the Bitcoin Standard by Safian Amus. Chapter 8. I should be done with the book tonight. It's a book on Bitcoin, what it is, on the economic basis of Bitcoin, why it makes sense. Talks about central banking from the Austrian economic point of view, and basically just trashes the concept of central banking and criticizes the business cycle, normal crypto fascist stuff, yeah, standard crypto fascist stuff. But it does make sense. It does make you understand. It does understand. It does make you understand how the economy works from the point of view of a principal of the central bank. Yeah, it's pretty good. A pretty good book. I'd recommend it to you again.
Yeah.
But what I'm really excited about is I pre-ordered the book on Amazon. It was written by James Mattis, and it's called. Let me just get the name. Book upcoming.
Okay.
It's called. Let me just look for the book. It's called Call Sign Chaos. It's by Jim Mattis and Bing West, and he's basically a summary of his autobiographical. So it's basically leadership lessons he's learned throughout his career. So it's coming in on the 11th of August, 11th of October. So really excited about that. It'll be a good read while I'm on holidays.
So, Tosin, are we going to be expecting you to be reading more books on economics? And what kind of books should we be looking forward to hearing you read over the next couple of weeks?
Okay, so let me look at my reading list, see what I have. I have a book. I have a few self-help books on the philosophy of Stoicism. I have a few books on business and finance. I have a textbook on competitive strategy. I have a crime book. I have a crime book, a mastermind. It's a very interesting book about a criminal, about a nerd turned a criminal kingpin. Very wonderful book. I hope
Is
the book
that
is as
fiction?
wonderful as the guy's Wikipedia page. Hopefully, what else do I have? Yeah, I'll see what else I have to read.
So,
Uh,
so we have
I
both
don't,
fiction and non-fiction there.
no. Everything is non-fiction. Everything is non-fiction. Non-fiction is more interesting than fiction. reality is more interesting than fiction. This is stranger than fiction. This is stranger than fiction stuff here. What else do I? What else do I have? Yeah. So I also have like political science. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. That's it for me.
Okay. Ikenna, what have you been reading or listening to?
I finished a book called Zonal Marking. Zonal Marking, written by Michael Cox. Well, the full title is Zonal Marking: The Story of Modern European Football, and it's basically a book about football, and it talks about how European football tactics have developed over the last 2 decades, and the different countries. It's divided into the different countries that made an influence on footballing style over that period. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It took me about a week to read it, which is like a record for me this year. I've been very slow reading books, but I really enjoyed it because it was very nostalgic. It reminded me of a lot of football matches that I've gone through, I've watched over the years. So I finished it on Saturday. I picked up a book.
You're a Manchester United fan?
Yes, I am.
Ikenna? Okay.
Yes, I am.
I just for the record. How's your club doing?
They are very determined to come in sixth this season.
Ikenna, do not ignore my question.
I think I'm at the point with Manchester United. I'm at the point where I've realized that it is the hope that kills. As the venerable philosopher Thanos says, it is the hope that kills. I think that was Thanos.
Okay.
And so basically, I've seen that maybe at some point that maybe the team is not really too serious about actually getting back to what it was before.
You know, when a Manchester United fan goes philosophical when discussing football, then you know that things are really bad. We'll go back.
So anyway, so that's basically what that book. So the one I picked up, and it's just basically out of interest, is a book called Justice on Trial by Molly Hemingway. Molly Hemingway is a journalist, an American journalist. Basically, it's a book about the Kavanaugh controversy. The Kavanaugh controversy. So basically, just to read the insider's gist of what happened. And it was about a year ago, and you had the whole ruckus over the allegations and the court cases and the hot takes and everything. So I'm reading a book where the story, the background story or the insider story is told of what happened, what transpired during those events. Then as for listening, I'm listening to a lot of these days, apart from the regular day-to-day podcast, I'm listening a lot these days to history of podcasts. So I'm listening to podcasts where basically the podcaster basically decides to give an account of the history of history, and these are usually long. Like the one that I'm trying to finish it's a very old podcast that is completed called The History of Rome. It has about 400 and something episodes, and I'm still in the 100 and something episodes, but it's really, really good. Like it gives you a lot of detail, well-researched detail about the history of Rome. I also listened to something. I listened to another podcast, an episode of another podcast. This one doesn't really come that regularly. The name of this podcast is called The Fall of Civilizations, and a podcast about civilizations that flourished at some point and then collapsed. And then it discusses how it grew to prominence and how it collapsed and what caused the collapse. So the most recent episode, which I was listening to over the weekend, was on the Songhai Empire. And the Songhai Empire is interesting because it rose to prominence as one of the largest empires on the continent in the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries before it collapsed. So it talks about how
why did it collapse?
It talks about how the Songhai Empire grew from the ruins of the earlier Malian Empire, and
Okay.
how all the things that basically caused its ruin were a number of things, but primarily um, the problem these societies had with succession. These societies had with succession, because comparatively, medieval Europe, the issue was basically that your king should be able to have a son, to sire a son, to have a son as an heir, which was really difficult, which could be difficult at times, especially because these were Christian kings and had to marry one wife, and that one
Why?
wife decided not to give a son. And
King Henry had very clever ways around that.
oh
So then,
yeah, and
that's an
it caused
aside.
a lot of problem as an aside.
Yeah,
So
inside that is
in these places, the issue is that you had too many people who were claimants to the throne, because you could have a king who could have maybe 10, 20 wives, and there was a king who had 37 sons. So you had 37 sons who feel, okay, I have a case, or I have a claim to the throne.
to the
And
throne.
that king also could also have several brothers from his father who are also eyeing the throne. And so when the king dies, it's usually the situation becomes really, really chaotic, because many times it falls into civil wars. So it was a succession of civil wars that basically did the Songhai Empire in. Also, there was also the mention of slavery, which was a mainstay of the Songhai economy, and how it was also around the time when the Europeans started bypassing them in the slave markets. This was the beginnings of the transatlantic slave trade too, which basically bypassed the slave trade that was the mainstay of the Songhai Empire. So it was really, really interesting.
Hmm. Nice. I thank you for talking about all the things you've been. Someday I'm going to grow up to be like you, reading a couple of books at the same time and listening to podcasts and all of that. You're my hero
Wow.
right now. I'm going to be like you.
Wow. And also juggling a career as an academic,
I mean, like he's a
and
superstar.
also a passive aggressive woman.
Yeah,
It's not easy.
that too. On top of everything else. Well,
And also
I
being
am
poverty stricken.
It's not
okay.
easy.
I know nothing about that. Well, I am reading this book and I've gone halfway through it. It's actually a book written by Rachel Hollis and it's titled Girl Wash Your Face. Well,
What?
Girl Wash Your Face.
What?
And
Girl, wash your face. Gay, wash your face. Gay,
Girl Wash Your Face. That's the title
That,
of the book. And
that's
it
gay,
interesting.
wash your face. Gay.
and it you know when someone says you should go wash your face, it means that you've got some dirt on it and there's something real cool underneath. You have beautiful flawless skin, but then it's covered in dirt, which means that a lot of people have something buried deep inside them, which they're not letting out because their face is dirtier, and which people can't see because their face is dirty. Nobody wants to be seen around people who carry around dirty faces. So once you wash your face, you get a lot more good going your way. That's basically what Rachel Hollis is saying in this book. And she's talking in the book, she talks about some of the issues that women face and how they can um, overcome it. Each chapter starts, it's about a lie that women have been told and how they can overcome that lie. For instance, in chapter 6, the lie is no is the final answer. Well, no is never the final answer. You can keep moving and you go past no, and the no might become a yes. And there are several lies. In fact, it has about 20 chapters, and each of the chapters is about a lie that women often get told and how they can overcome that lie. I like particularly chapter 14, which the lie is, I'm a terrible writer, because I've had to face this personally. Um, I remember somebody told me I was a failed writer even before I started. even before I had a chance to kick off my writing career, I was already being called a failed writer. And so reading this book by Rachel Hollis, it was like she was talking to me personally, and I love the book. I'm not done reading it yet. I should be done in a week or two, because of how crazy my schedule is these days. But it's a very beautiful book that every woman should actually read. Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I love the book. So far, what I've seen, I love. And that is, we are drawing curtains on the first edition of Polemics. And I want to take final word from everyone before we end it today. Ikenna, you are looking. Your mouth looks like it wants to say something. So please say something.
Well, on the final note, I think this was a good start, and we should have a theme song, superhero theme song.
So we're superheroes. What's going to be my superpower?
I don't know. You should be able to tell us what your powers are.
Okay.
Banana guy. You should be banana guy.
The power of anonymity.
The power of anonymity. That's your superpower. Anonymity. Well done. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Tosin, final word.
Yeah. It's been really fun. It's been really fun talking about this, and I'm really excited to see what the final product looks like and what the reception will be. And hopefully, we can make this thing fun and we can have a longer conversation. 1 hour flew by.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. Have a lovely evening. Wash your face.
Okay, I am going to wash my face very definitely, Tosin. And thank you, Ikenna and Tosin, for being on today's edition of Polemics. I was your anchor person, Abigail. Next week, it's going to be Ikenna anchoring the program, after which we'll have Tosin. But until we come your way again next week, this is saying bye from me and bye from everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She just logged out. Where is she?
It's still live.